So, the eclipse of September 28th, it actually starts on the evening of September 27th, seen from the Americas, and it will last for a length of 3 hours and 20 minutes from beginning to the end. What's really special here with this lunar eclipse is that, yes, we do get lunar eclipses on and off, so that's not so big a deal in itself. They always do pack a punch, though, don't they? They have the power of 3 full moons all in one. But what makes this one special is that it is a blood moon, what we call a blood moon. And more than that, not only are they rare, but this particular blood moon is the 4th in a series of 4, which we call the tetrad. And that happens very, very rarely. It's only happened once the last 500 years. Now, I want to spend a little time and pointing out what they're saying about this blood moon. Now, for the Jewish people especially, this becomes something very, very important. So we're going to look a little bit globally what this can bring and what it can bring to various nations. But the Jewish, they say that the total solar eclipse, that belongs to people out there. That belongs globally to other nations. But they've always said that the blood moons are for the Jewish people, their nation, their history, their foundation. And this being the 4th one coming in a row, while they're feeling that there is some messages, a harbinger of pending doom. So this is what the Jewish people are thinking. So let's backtrack here just a little bit. When was the first in the tetrad of these 4 blood moons? The first one was April 15, 2014 there of last year. The second one was October 8th, 2014. The third one was March 20th, 2015. And then we have this last one, September 28th. Now, the 4th one should wrap up this tetrad. And a lot of things are being said, and we don't want to do all the doom and gloom, but it is important to look at it because, sure, you know, this can also affect us individually as we look at our own personal astrological charts. Where is it going to show up? And we'll talk more about that in a minute, but we're going to be looking at here first globally, and especially since Israel is a little worried about this, what is coming up there in their chart? So, as you can see here, we have the chart of Israel set up on September 28th at 5:47 a.m. local time, Jerusalem. And as you can see, there's a lot of red lines. Now, the blue lines are always harmonious aspects. The red lines, well, they represent more so challenges. And the challenges, the greatest ones here I see is Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. They're all squaring off on Saturn. Now, Saturn is here in the 3rd house, smack between Scorpio and Sagittarius. So there is pressure here. Saturn is always the government, the ruling government. And since we got 3 angles coming in, from the left side, we got a square from Neptune there as well. Saturn, the government, feels a little sandwiched, a little squished, if we can put it that way. And this has to do with external forces, what's going on here in the country, what's going on politically. But notice the moon. The moon's up there in the 7th house, 4 degrees in Aries. Aries in itself is a warrior, okay? It's Mars driven. So this blood moon is in the sign of Aries, which is driven by Mars. It's in the 7th house for balancing relationships. So relationships which can be within the country itself, but it could also definitely here be balancing with external forces here as it's opposing the Sun and Mercury. There may be negotiations going on of importance at the time. The moon has not only the opposition to Sun, Mercury, but Pluto is kind of sandwiched between there. And Pluto is all about transformation. Pluto is really good as far as healing old wounds, rebuilding new structures. But before new structures can come, there's always the tear down of the old. And we will always have chaos before new order. And since Pluto is right here triggering the Sun and the Moon, we could see that something could be torn down. As far as old structures and governments, we got to think about Pluto here in Capricorn, because Capricorn is governments, and Saturn rules Capricorn. So both Pluto and Saturn here itself seems to be in very difficult situations here on this day of the blood moon. The areas affected has to do with ground level, fourth house, which is home, past traditions, real estate, the values that we and traditions that we grow up with. So there's a restructuring there that may come into the picture. Saturn's in the third house, has to do with communication, negotiation, travel, and so forth, and being open to look at both sides of a situation, especially because it is there smack between these oppositions here on either side of its square. So we can see there might be a little bit of rebel going on. We got Uranus up there in the seventh house as well, also in the sign of Aries. Uranus wants to liberate. Liberate what? It wants to liberate the warrior within, that Marsian Aries, right? And it is squaring in to Pluto. It's an open square. 2 years ago, if these 4 blood moons, the tetrad, had hit all of them, say a couple of years ago when Uranus and Pluto started off on their direct squares, that could have been a little bit more complicated to deal with. But you can see there's a 7 degree there, so it's an open, wide square. But Uranus is also opposing here Mercury, which wants to negotiate. Even that is a very open-ended. It's a 10 degree opposition off the exact. So not feeling that that's going to do too much. Neptune is our ideals, our hopes, our wishes, our dreams, and so forth. It being there in Pisces, it's strong. But Neptune here is opposing Mars and Jupiter. So Mars wants to bring to attention something. And Jupiter brings to attention justice, the higher justice of what is fair and what is unfair. When Jupiter is well aspected, it's abundance and generosity and so forth. Enthusiasm in those new beginnings. And we can see Jupiter does have a great aspect to Pluto. So the overall and the higher perspective here is actually good. It's trying. It wants to go somewhere. It wants to renew something. However, though, Jupiter is also here as opposed to Neptune. And with Neptune in negative aspects, we can look at martyrs. It being in the sign of Pisces, bring around that martyrdom. And if that is the case, well, Neptune isn't all in good company here. It's squared by Saturn. So it feels more like force. There's forces. When we're looking at those red lines, we know it's not harmonious. Something is trying to like get a square peg into a round hole. So there's some forces somewhere that's not really, should I say, patient enough to negotiate, to really look at things, to work at a situation more in a communal way. It's more my way or no way, and it's going to be now or it's going to be never. So there's a sense of a little bit of drama here, I can say that. Then we have Venus and Mars too. Venus is love, values, resources. That is squared off. Something's being shut off here by Saturn. Feeling ignored, left out. Mars is squared off on Saturn. Saturn being the government. Well, something here too seems to be shut off, squared off. So, and Jupiter, the same thing. Something is being shut off or shut down. And it might be, I won't say forever, but with a factor of unknown, how long is this going to last? Well, astrology can always say when things start moving forward again, but the unknown factor as it happens is Neptune. Neptune there is wishy-washy, it's fog-like, it's opposing our values, our actions, our hopes and dreams of justice. So that opposition there, well, say if there is, since our values are being aspected here, we can look at the market, and we're already feeling the market shaking, with the Chinese. A crack can come, and then they may not know what's taking place. Just look at what happened there with Greece, too. The banks, and then the not knowing and having to work and negotiate to rebuild, restructure, renegotiate, and so forth. So we might see something cracking down here on the 28th. And then, even this shall pass. So I'm not all about gloom and doom. But yes, I can see that this will be the finality of this tetrad. And since they only come along, every few hundred years, it is special. It's going to be exciting to see what it's actually going to do when we know there's migration of people out there needing help. The Mediterranean, where they're coming across, where there are boats looking for some country to open up their borders for them. And so we have to be ready to help, to reach out, to heal, to be a part of that rebuilding, restructuring, the new that is coming in. And in order to create new, the old must go, and tension does rise, because tension brings to the forefront what it is we need to recognize that needs restructuring and healing. Interesting to note that there's only been a total of 8 blood red moon tetrads since the time of Christ. So it doesn't happen that often that we get these 4 in a row. And I feel that, yes, we have passed the 3. We're still here. We're good. We got the 4th one coming up. So on an individual basis, not all that much. I feel this is more a collective consciousness taking place globally. So what can we see has taken place since the first blood moon? Well, we did have the rise of ISIS coming in. So there has been a growing awareness of terrorism in the world. What else can we have noticed? We have noticed that there is more people going off on tangents. We do see that they're acting strange. Now, even here this morning, as we speak, we had the reporter and the cameraman who got shot there in Virginia. Very sad. But situations like that, somebody just goes off on this tangent, whether they know what they're doing or they don't know what they're doing. But there is this feeling, that yes, there is change. Collectively, we're changing as a group, looking at the world, how it used to be, what we're being more so conditioned to, I feel, and but not as much necessarily in your own personal chart. You'll see that when you listen to the monthly forecast here, where this full moon or this eclipse now is going to be showing up in your chart to see what can come from it. But it's not like we're all going to feel the weight in our personal life collectively. Yes, so we want to pay attention to what's coming up. So tune in on the news, send your healing powers to those areas that is needed. Of course, the earth itself is going to be feeling an extra tug of war, which it always does when we have these eclipses. It's when the moon is closest here to the earth, so of course it's pulling on our tectonic plates, and it's been doing that now a lot just here since the beginning of 14, so it's had extra pulls and tugs. So we shall see. But for those of you who haven't listened to the September forecast for your own zodiac sign, you might want to go and listen to it and hear where that full moon, that eclipse, is showing up in your chart, so you will know where it's going to be affecting you personally. You can listen to your partner's chart, see where it's affecting him or her here on that 28th. And but this is more a overall for all of us. I'm not specifically looking at any sun sign on this forecast here for the blood moon. So, but yes, it is interesting. We can see definitely that there's energies out there coming, but even they shall pass. All right, so have a good one, everyone. Bye now.